What is up, everybody? WTF? Welcome to Funkatopia. I meant to leave him down in the green room, but it's okay. He's already up in here. But let me introduce our special guest tonight. Obviously, we got Ricky Freeze Smith in the audience tonight in the interviewee position. American musician, songwriter, producer. Started his musicianship on drums at the young age of 5. Became pretty much entrenched in the music with the Sylvers and Billy Preston, and also became intimately involved with the Purple Circle, playing with Morris Day and a bunch of other associated acts like Janet Jackson, Lakeside, The Whispers, and so many more. And it is an honor to have the one, the only Ricky Freeze Smith in the house. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, I'm doing good, Christopher. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing really, really good. I know you had a big show last night. Who were you playing with last night?
It was us with Confunction and Zap in Columbus, Ohio, and it was your normal funk fest, but it was good. It was really good, man. We don't get a chance to get to Ohio much, but Ohio really loves the time, man. They really do.
Yeah, something about Atlanta being in kind of like this little bit of I mean, obviously in the 90s we had this little bit of an R&B type of movement here with LaFace Records, and everything just kind of came in and out of here. But whenever we seem to do Funk Fest here in Atlanta, it always has like these, it's mostly R&B, but they call it Funk Fest, and they rarely have any true funk bands. Now that, what you just did, literally sounds like an amazing funk festival. So, I mean,
it was great, man.
Now is that like, is this funk festival or this kind of arrangement with this lineup that you guys have something that you're going to be that's touring right now, or is it's kind of a one-off?
It's kind of a one-off. I mean, we do a lot of shows with Zap and Confunction and SOS Band, so it's just a lot of the groups from the 80s that were still, they put us together. Charlie Wilson and Evelyn King. So it's just kind of that whole, everyone from the 80s, that's still working. We'll get together, and the promoter will kind of put the groups together, and then we'll do these shows.
It was good to see Charlie on the Masked Singer. I don't know if you watched that show at all, but they had that, that crazy reality show where they have famous actors and singers that actually dress up in these uniforms or costumes, and you don't know who they are. And
oh wow.
Yeah, and last season Charlie was in the mix, and nobody knew who it was. I mean, I knew who it was from day one. I was like, "Oh, that's Charlie."
And they couldn't figure it out.
Nope. And I think one of them did. One of them did at the end. They just said, "I think this sounds like Charlie Wilson," but that's to be expected. But man, it is an honor to have you in here, man. And I know that you started out, and I want to talk a little bit about your childhood and how you kind of got started. And it kind of did, research and kind of digging around. So I'm going to show some pictures, and you can kind of explain some things as to what we're looking at. I'm going to start with this one right here because I love these historical photos where you're just like, man, what is this? What's going on? So talk to me a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Well, that's Billy Preston on organ, and that's me down there on the drums. And the choir is Reverend James Cleveland's choir. And this was back in 1971. And I was 11 years old.
Yeah, I was 3.
Yeah. And so, that's where it all starts for me. It's church,
Now, was drums your first outing as a musician in the church, or what instrument did you start out with?
It was drums.
It was drums.
Mm-hmm. It was drums. I mean, yeah, that was my go-to, so I am a drummer.
But so why have you gravitated towards bass? I mean, even having your own custom bass that you have in the background there, but what gravitated? What changed?
I mean, we always had instruments in our home, and so naturally we had the drums, and my mom had piano. So she purchased a Hammond organ, similar to the one you're seeing. And so we had that in the house. And so being around Billy Preston, I was so impressed by his playing. So I would jump on the organ and try to pick up whatever I knew or whatever I could. So then I started playing organ. I started playing bass was later, man. I was drums and organ for years. Even in bands and at church, that was my go-to instrument, was organ and drums.
Now, how old were you when you got on organ?
I was like around 12, 13.
Oh, okay.
Around that same time here. Yeah, around that same time there. I was, I was young, you know what I mean? And so I jumped, it was in the house, so I'm going to play it.
Yeah, because I was going to ask how you reached the pedals, but obviously.
Well, yeah, I was kind of tall. I was able to touch the pedals and kind of sit on the end of the stool, but yeah, no, I mean, that's what it was, man. Drums and organ for me.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool. And here's another photo.
Ooh, you're going there, aren't you?
Hey, we're digging in. We're digging in here. Tell me a little bit about this photo.
Yeah, okay, so this was around 71, 72. And it's myself and my very dear friend, Vincent Simmons, and his mother, along with my mother, with Billy Preston's mom, sang in a gospel group called the Ladies of Songs. So he and I had this little duo band, and we would practice. My mother would allow us to practice in the bedroom or in the garage, and he was into some of the Jimi Hendrix stuff. That was 1971, 72, and we were just jamming, man. That's what we did. We just jammed, man. That's what it was.
Man, that's great. That's I mean, these types of behind the scenes band jams, I mean, this was like pretty much, I don't know, was this in a basement or was this in the main part of the house?
Man, that was actually in my bedroom. My mom was good that she let me play in the bedroom, and man, this is some great memories for me, man, because it was the beginning of what I was doing back in the day. You know what I mean? Up until now,
man.
That's a great photo.
Yeah, and I think what's so neat about especially in the Midwest and even the Northeast. I mean, a lot of people don't know this. I mean, if you are from the West Coast or down in the South, basements really aren't that popular. But up in the Midwest, where it's cold, and up in the Northeast, basements were like, I mean, that was normally like jam session central. Everybody just always had your own, and that was just like the epitome of the birth of music. And I mean, it's just, as far as young artists getting in there and really just kind of having these jam sessions and figuring out where their strengths and weaknesses are. And props to your mom for letting you practice in your bedroom, because I don't think my mom would let me do that.
Oh yeah, I mean, she was good. I mean, being that she was musically inclined too, but we did it in certain hours of the day, and then I'd be in the garage. I couldn't play past maybe 5 or 6 o'clock, and but we would start early in the day and play, and and that's where everything just kind of it started, man. And just like when you talk about the basements and the musicians, in the Midwest and stuff like that, that's why, I mean, they were so good, man, because they had nothing but time on their hands.
Right.
Go down there. You're not going outside. So guess what? I'm going to go pick this guitar, bass up, and keyboard, and I'm going to play. And so that's why so many great musicians come from those areas, man, because they shed all the time. I'm from California, man. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot to do here all year round. But, I played music. Music was me all the time. I was always practicing and playing.
Man, and I'm a vocalist, so I always just went with whoever had practice space. I mean, we've played in everything from basements to random garages that were crafted to be rehearsal spaces, and I mean, just wherever you could practice. I mean, they even had warehouses that were like sectioned off that you could rent rehearsal spaces in these massive warehouses here in Atlanta. So yeah, that always brings back some really, really good memories. Just, being able to be in that creative process, and just, there's no limits. There's no expectations. You're just like, let's just make music. There's just a lot to that. So you start and you start playing and you start getting involved with a lot of different people. And I know you had mentioned, I'm going to go a little bit out of order here because you had mentioned, obviously the first picture we looked at was you with Billy Preston in the background here. And Billy Preston actually is that documentary out yet? Or
I believe that it is, but not yet. I know that they've been kind of showing it at some film shows or whatever, but it's not out yet. And it was just some political stuff that was kind of going on with it, but it's soon to come out, though. It's something that should be out and people should be able to see more about who he really was. I mean, you know what I mean? And I mean, he was great, man. He was great.
So did he notice your skills on drums, or how did you get tied with Billy Preston? How did you become part of the process or part of his history? Because from what I thought I had read, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were actually in this documentary that will be released.
Yeah, they had me come in and I did my interview. And so my interview was really kind of based on growing up in church. His mother and my mother were in a gospel singing group back in 1968.
Yeah, like you had mentioned.
So that's when they started. And so I was only like 8 years old. And so when they would rehearse either at our home or at his home, I would see him. I'm young. I'm just 8, man. He's kind of coming in and out, and he jumps on the organ and plays with them while they're rehearsing. And so that was the beginning of my relationship with him. And it wasn't really a relationship. It was really just more me looking up to him playing this organ. And he's looking at me like, this is little Ricky, and that's what it was, And so whenever we were in church or they were doing a concert, and if he was available in town, he was coming. He was going to play with his mom, and
Wow.
And I was going to be with my mother. So that's what it was, man, for us.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, he's just one of these. I mean, he's the fifth Beatle.
He is. I mean, he
a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that he played with the Beatles. I mean, he was very much, heavily involved in some of that funk edge that he would give them, man. It was just, he was a master craftsman for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he brought another element to the Beatles, you know what I mean? And so it was the gospel. Naturally, it was that gospel feel that they loved anyway, and so it really worked well for them. And I think that's when they did the Let It Be. I think the album, it was in 1968.
Yeah, and they did a movie too that is actually on Disney Channel. So Disney Plus, if you have Disney Plus, they actually have a video that actually talks. They spend time in the studio, and Billy's in there. Sporadic. Yeah. Like, man, that's just woof.
Oh yeah, they embraced him. They really, and then he and George became best of friends. I mean, George just really just gravitated. I believe it was George that actually introduced Billy Preston to the rest of the guys. And man, it's some great history. And yeah, he was. They called him the fifth Beatle, man. He was great.
He definitely was. And let's talk about this other band here. Then I'm going to put up a photo, and you can kind of tell me a little bit about these folks.
Oh man, that's my family, man. That's the Sylvers, man. Oh my goodness. They were my first professional act that I started playing with, and that was like 1978. I was only 18 years old, 17, 18 when I got with them. And man, I loved them. I loved all of them, man. I mean, we toured together, and I was with them for like about 2 years, but their mom, man, she took good care of me. She took really good care of me, man.
Wow. That's amazing. So you said 1971 is when you were playing. Obviously you were 5.
No, actually, no, 1971, I was 11.
No, I'm 11, I'm sorry.
Yes.
And between 1971 and 1978, that's a 7-year window there between, the time you got connected with them. What were you, how were you perfecting your craft, or was there other things going on in your life in that window? I mean, obviously that's like the formative years and you're probably in school or whatever, but what was happening during that period? Because obviously you had the music bug.
Yeah, no, I was playing with local bands uh, during that time, like from '73 all the way up. We're just local bands. Like I played with a group called True Perfection, and then it was just a lot of my friends in the neighborhood that we would just jam together. So music was I was always playing music. I was always playing. I was always shedding. I was always in the garage somewhere playing, and so and then like I said, and then playing with local groups. I was a little young, but I was playing organ with a lot of those groups back then. You know, and so I'm this little guy with this Hammond B3 and Leslie speaker traveling with me to
Classic.
gigs.
Yeah. That's not an easy lug.
No, but but we had it down to a science. We had the whole case and everything for it, man, and we did it religiously, man, and we were our band was really funky, so we really did a lot of Larry Graham, Sly Stone. That was the kind of music that we were playing, that we grew up on. You know what I mean? Like so many others, and so
Right.
yeah, so that's what I was doing up until that time before I got with them.
Yeah. And so what all did you play a variety of instruments with the Sylvers, or was it just one specific, just organ?
Well, I came in playing keyboards with the Sylvers. And so
Okay.
it wasn't Oregon. It wasn't Oregon though. I, had to play like the clavinet and the Fender Rhodes and Boogie Fever and Hotline. So I had to play all that stuff with them.
Right.
And so I did that for about a year, and then the Sylvers decided to go self-contained, where they all want to play instruments themselves. And so Ricky started playing guitar, Foster on bass, Jonathan on keyboards, Patricia on keyboards, and then I went and started playing drums. So they asked me if I would mind playing drums. I said, sure. So I went right back and started playing drums with them. And so I was just kind of back and forth. And then, and that was fun too, because it was like, to play the drums on, Boogie Fever and High School Dance and all that stuff. It was great.
Man, that's now, were you touring regionally, or what was the furthest distance?
No, we were touring. I'm sorry, nationally.
Really?
We were doing a lot of theme parks, some theaters, and some arenas. Some outdoor stuff that we were doing. We did a really big thing at was it Napier or something like that in Chicago. Some real huge place outdoor. But anyway, but I was young, man, and I would just show up and play. You know what I mean?
Was that the furthest that you had ever traveled, was with the Sylvers at that time? I mean, up to that point?
Yeah, man. We went to New Zealand, man. I was
Oh my God.
We toured New Zealand, man. I was in Auckland and Napier and Wellington, and I'm not but 18 years old. You know what I mean? And I'm like, now in hindsight, I'm like, oh wow, man, it was really great. You know what I mean? But then you just kind of like, you're excited. You're playing, you're doing shows, and all the other beauty of New Zealand, I really didn't pay too much attention to back then.
Man, and then you kind of move from that, which is awesome. I mean, to be able to experience that at 18 is just amazing. I mean, but then you kind of go from the Sylvers to working a little bit more intimately with the one and only. With the one and only. So, So tell me a little bit about working with Leon and just, Dynasty and Adventures in the Land of Music, all that stuff. I mean, it's just that whole spectrum of what you were doing there was pretty friggin' phenomenal. And how did you get tied in and all that?
After playing with the Sylvers, and so Leon had left the group, and so when they went self-contained, then Leon was gone, and by that time he was working for Solar Records. By that time he had already done Shalamar, Take That to the Bank. He had kind of started doing that, and then they did the Big Fun album, I think, with Second Time Around. Mm-hmm. So all that stuff was cut like maybe in 1978, 79. And so I went over. Kevin Spencer, who was the lead singer of Dynasty, it's like my brother who I've known all of my life. And So he was already over there with Leon. And so he says, "Hey, Rick, why don't you come on over, man, and maybe just do some writing or playing with us, you know?" And so I did that. And, you know, I mean, we just gelled. I mean, we just gelled together. So then they wanted me to be in Dynasty. And so I was a member of Dynasty, you know what I'm saying? We were like in the band together. And so by that time, you know, we're rehearsing. And as we're rehearsing to go on tour, we're also rehearsing songs to go in and record. You know,
Yeah.
and so it was a machine. It was a machine, man. It was a machine.
That's amazing. And I know that there was a lot of instrumentation that you use that kind of became part of your sound. Like I think every artist has a little bit of something that becomes their sound. So I want to talk about what was really the core of your sound, and we'll start, you know, as far as what you feel like really defined what you sound like. And we'll start with the ARP Quadra.
Ooh. Oh,
We're gonna start here. Start talking about like
yeah.
some of the equipment that you were using and some of the sounds that you were able to get, and just I mean,
that keyboard was my sound. I was pretty much the only one that played that keyboard in Dynasty. And so, you know, and the beat goes on. It's a love thing. Those first keyboards you hear is that Make That Move is that keyboard. I Just Begun to Love You. It's the ARP Quadra, you know, and
wow.
I, you know, I'm not gonna say I mastered it. It's just that I found what worked for me, and ironically, it was good enough for the songs, you know, and the songs became what they are today, you know. And but we as Dynasty, you know, that was my instrument, and so you know the whole band. We were like the Funk Brothers. So we played on all of the hit songs. We wrote all of the music for all of those groups.
Yeah. I mean, the sounds that just I can hear, like especially when the beat goes on, I can hear that. I can hear those keyboard stabs that are so significant all throughout that song. And it's just man, it's funny to kind of look back. Go ahead.
No, it's a great keyboard. And actually, it was just given back to me just recently.
Really?
Yeah, literally. And so now it's in the shop. That picture that you see is something that I took because it had been sitting in someone's garage for the last 35 years, 40 years. So it's and actually it kind of burned out. We went to Africa. Dynasty went to Africa, and they plugged it in, and man, it burnt the circuitry board. Burned it. So because they didn't use a transformer.
Oh my gosh.
One
Yeah,
of
you
our
can't.
guys didn't think to transformer and plugged it in, and that was it. So we got to Africa, man, and I had to play through a farfisa.
I'm sorry.
Not
What?
our quadra, a farfisa organ. And
Okay.
you know, it is what it is. But yeah,
That doesn't sound like an ARP Quadra at all.
not even close. But guess what? I made it work.
There you go. There you go. So I know a lot of people would kill me if I didn't talk about the Minneapolis portion of this too, because you know, how do you get from I think I kind of lost track geographically where you were at this point in time and how you potentially ended up getting to Minneapolis at some point in time during the mayhem that was, I mean, Prince from Controversy up.
Yeah, you know, during that time, it's funny you mentioned that because we did the Solar tour back in 1980, and Morris, Prince, and Andre Simone came to our show in Minneapolis to see the Solar tour, which was Dynasty, it was Shalamar, it was the Whispers, it was Lakeside. And so they came, they just came to see the show. You know, and I didn't know anything about it until Morris told me later, man, we came to the show, man, and we saw y'all. I'm like, oh wow, that's great. So Dynasty was a big portion of the 80 all the way to like maybe 84, because I was doing a lot of writing I wrote a lot of songs with Leon, and then we went on after Leon left Solar. Then he started his own company called Silver Spoon, and so I did Gladys Knight. I wrote a song called "Save the Overtime" for her, and I did a song on Evelyn King's "Shakedown," and did a song on the Brothers Johnson. So I had done a lot of work, and Jimmy and Terry actually came to work with Leon when they left the time or that goal,
Right.
Which was really a blessing in disguise for them, really, to be honest with you. So they came to LA, and so I met them back in 1982, I believe it was. I think it was a 1999 tour. I think I'm not sure what year that was, but I want to say it was somewhere around there. But anyway, they came, and so they were writing as well with Leon, with all of us at that time, And so by that time, 1985 was when, I guess it was right after Purple Rain, that Morris left.
Yeah, he had to do his own. He had to do his own thing. So when you see photos like this of Prince and Brown Mark, this is, I mean, these types of iconic shots where you're thinking, I mean, look how young they are. It's just it's just mind-boggling. And are you looking at this? Are you looking at photos for those who are listening on Odyssey, or if you're listening on Spotify or iHeartRadio? My apologies. We're kind of showing some images, and right now I'm showing an older image of Prince and Brown Mark, and it's definitely one of these shots that's just, this isn't.
It's totally iconic, but it was so raw, because it was almost, they were just doing what felt good to them.
Yeah,
that's what I have to say about Prince, man. It's like he did what felt, not knowing, not knowing that it was going to evolve to where it is. You know what I mean? It was just, he loved music, man, and he was great at everything that he did, and anyone that played with him learned a lot being with him. But back the earlier days, man, oh my God, they were just raw. And this was kind of like, I guess, right? Brown Mark came, right after Andre Simone, I guess, and Andre was bad too now.
Yeah.
Andre Simone was a beast. Still is.
Yeah, he still is. Absolutely. Yeah. This is, I think he came right when they were doing the Rolling Stones tour, when he was opening up for Rolling Stones.
Yes.
And I remember Brown Mark telling me the story. It was like, that was a nightmare.
Yeah. And actually, I believe Morse was a cameraman.
Yes, he was. Yeah. He was literally brought on tour to document their shows, which has got to be tough, because you're like, man, I've got skills. Why am I sitting here behind the camera and but it's just like, Morris has got this innate, capability to be able to identify opportunities and say, you know what, I see this for what it is at the moment right now. And, an opportunity will present itself for sure. And so I think he knew where to be in the right place at the right time. And it's, that was.
But it worked well because he and Prince were so close, and so I don't know that he even looked at it like that. I believe that just at that time that's what it was, and
wanted to be along for the ride.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, and that's your buddy, man. I'm saying, okay, man, whatever you want, I'm there for you. And so, but what great history though, for all of them, to have gone through that period. And, Rolling Stones, man, I mean, to go out there and basically, get almost thrown off, but the most important thing was that he didn't give up on it. I mean, I know he probably wanted to just turn and just not even deal with it, but he continued, man, which was phenomenal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, did you ever get like a lot of, did you get a lot of one-on-one time with Prince at all, or was pretty much everything that you dealt with Prince pretty much through Morris Day, or what? Did you get any one-on-one time with him?
We've had a few moments. I actually wrote a song called "Corporate World" that was going to be on the album before Pandemonium,
Yep.
And so this was probably 1988.
It's a good song.
Thank you. Morris and I were writing for a group we had called the Daisies that was signed to Warner Brothers.
I actually have this album on vinyl. I knew you were going to bring it up. I said, I don't know. I can't remember why I picked it up. I was like, I happened to see it and I was like, I got to pick this up. And somehow I've been managed to hold on to this album for all those years. And there it is, the Days.
Yeah. I can't talk about Morris and not mention the Daisies. But anyway, we're recording songs. And so Prince came to the studio, and so Morris let him hear 2 of the tracks. And next thing I knew, he took the 24 track and took it to Minneapolis, and not knowing what he was going to do with it, not at all. And then I thought he was going to like take all my keyboards off and put his flavor on it, and he didn't touch it. He left it the way that it is and just play guitar and put vocals on it. So that was a really big compliment, to me. But that was kind of like my first involvement with him, and then when we did the musicology tour, a few times he kind of came up to me. Well, actually, I'm in the dressing room by myself programming the keyboard. And so he comes in and sits next to me. And, we just have a regular conversation, man. He asked, well, what am I doing? I said, well, I'm, programming this keyboard, but, he just really kind of admired my playing and really spoke well about it, which was really great, I thought, you know what I mean? And a few times he had to come and kind of correct me during sound check.
What would he correct you on?
We were, I don't know if it was Madison Square Garden, but anyway, we were doing our sound check. And so he was always behind the board mixing, our music for the show. And so we're playing Get It Up, and, I'm in the arena and I'm like, oh man, my bass seems really loud, and I'm just trying to figure out why is it. So I'm trying to hold back a little bit because it just seems really loud, And so anyway, he was at the board, and so he decided to solo my bass and had me with Chance, who was playing bass at the same synth, right? And so he's listening to both. So he comes up, he just walks up and he says, man, why are you playing so many grace notes? And I said, oh, am I? He says, yeah, you kind of playing too much in between. I said, oh man, I really didn't realize that. And he says, when you're in an arena or when you're in a big place, the less you play, the better it's going to sound. He says, so if you're doing all that bubbling and stuff in between, it's going to sound like a train wreck.
Yeah, muddies it up.
Yeah, so he was like, just keep it. The parts are already great. So he said, just play the parts. Because he said Chance was really Chance played a lot too. He played a lot. So sometimes it would clash. So but it was much respect though. I mean, I appreciated that him coming to me. And but we had a few other times we were together and just talking. I was with Larry one time. We were talking about bass players and Kenny Burke. I don't know if you know who Kenny Burke is.
Mm-hmm.
But Larry was just saying that Kenny Burke is the only bass player that sounds like him. And so, we got into this deep conversation, with Prince and Kenny Burke and who he is, and as bad as he was then and still, you know what I mean? So, but most of us, most of my involvement with him was through Morris. A lot of it was just through him,
Well, did you and Larry ever, because I know you're a very religious person, spiritual person. Did you ever get in any conversations with Larry at any point in time about any type of religious conversations?
No, not really. No.
Just better left unsaid.
Yeah, no. I mean, because I grew up with the people he grew up with, Billy Preston, Sly Stone. So, we church boys, man. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, we all grew up to go our separate ways and our different beliefs, but the roots came from, how, it was our church. So it was always that. That was always the connection with he and I. Even we did a thing for Prince in Europe, and Larry asked me if I would come and play organ with him. And because I love Robert Sam, Butch, and I could play it if I need to play it, but just it never happened, never materialized. And then, I just kind of didn't see Larry anymore. But no, I mean, he never approached me at all with anything other than music.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you can't really complain there because I heard some of those conversations get pretty intense for sure. But
Yeah.
So let's shift back because you had mentioned, post Purple Rain, Morris Day steps away and he decides he's going to do his own solo project. And we get to Color of Success. Obviously, I put up Daydreaming up here too because I think you're on that one as well.
Yeah.
So tell me about how Morris approached you on this, because here's my other question too about this, because I mean, this has got Color of Success has got one of my favorite songs on it. It's just that tongue in cheek, Don't Wait for Me. It's just, that song is just, it's supposed to be a serious, slow song, but that song just cracks me up every time. The way it's, I'm just a young man. What makes you think that it's just like, oh my God. It's just so funny. And that's the reason why I love that song, is because it's this vibe is just fantastic with this album. But first off, my question is, how does he approach you? But secondly, why didn't he use, I mean, no offense to you, but why wouldn't he use any other members of the time or anything to kind of do some of this stuff? Or was he really trying to just separate himself? Because his problems that he had, I don't mean to ramble, but the issues that he had was mostly after Prince let Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis go. So his issues weren't necessarily with the time. It was more with Prince and everything that had happened and how it all came unraveled. It's kind of unusual, the selections that he made. And so anyways, I know that's a loaded question, but let's.
No. I mean, after he left, I believe that they did one show at First Avenue. The time that was, the Purple Rain time, and so that was it, man. He jumped in his car and never looked back. And I've been knowing Morris 40 years, man. And, when he's had enough of something, he's had enough. He could take a lot, but I'm just my brother. When he gets to that, I'm good, and he does what he needs to do. So during the time he came to California, Los Angeles, I was still with Leon, and so Leon got a call, I guess, from Barry Josephson, who was Morris's manager at the time, or was working with the management company, and so wanted Leon maybe to do some songs on Morris. So Morris comes up to the house. We had a studio up in Coldwater Canyon, a beautiful home, and so anyway, Morris comes up there, and I never forget this, man. He comes and he rings the doorbell, and I open up the door, and there he is in living color. He had the suit on. He had the whole get up. And I was like, this is Morris Day coming up in here. And so he hung out. He hung out for a couple of hours. And so after he and Leon had talked, I think Leon maybe had played some stuff that maybe I had done just track-wise or whatever. But anyway, so after he leaves, Leon says, hey, Rick, he says, I want you to maybe write some stuff for Morris, because I might be doing them. And you kind of got that sound. Well, okay, no problem. That's fine. So about maybe 2 months goes down, and then I get a call from a guy named Richard Aaron. And Richard Aaron says, hey, Rick, man, Morris asked if you could come down or come up to the studio and do some sessions for him. So Morris asked for me, right? And so I go up to Indigo Ranch, and we remembered each other, and the first song that I played on was "Don't Wait for Me."
I love that freaking song, man. I don't know what it is about that song. Jeff and I were cutting up one day, and we literally sang that song pretty much front to back. It was just because it's those lyrics that even decades later just stick in your head.
Oh yeah.
The way that
it was a good song. I mean, people really love that song, man. People really love that song.
It's great. And I this is one of the issues that I would love to get Morris on the show one time. I've reached out. Maybe I just don't I have bad connections or whatever. Maybe I'll try to use you, but I've always wanted to get him on the show and ask him about, some of these shows and performances that he does, because it's like, man, you got so many songs from your solo albums that are phenomenal. And it just seems like every time that I go to see Morris Day and the Time, it's always just, Prince's stuff, and which is fine. I know that people want to hear it, but there are a huge, there's a massive audience that would love to see Don't Wait for Me, love to see Oak Tree and Fishnet. I know he brings that out every now and then, but there's so many of these deeper cuts that people just love, that just seem to just, that's always one of the things that I always kind of frustrated me. It's like, I know he wants to do his own thing. He doesn't want to always be, labeled as Prince's protege or, in that mix. But on the same note, it's like, okay, well, do some of your stuff. Do you, because there's lots of people out here who love what you do and would love to hear that. I would buy a ticket immediately, but every time I go to a show, it's just seems like it's that same collection of songs. And not that the songs aren't fantastic. They are. No, they're great. But
I mean, I agree. When we put the solo group together, the band together, we played more of the songs. We played Color of Success. We played Oak Tree. We played Love Is a Game. We played The Character. We played, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we
man.
played Love Sign. I'm saying we played songs, even off the Daydreaming album. We played Yo Love. We played Fishnet. So we incorporated all those songs in our show. And I don't know if you ever had a chance to see his solo tour, man, but man, we was mashing. And then we would still put in some of the time stuff, like the signature songs, The Bird, Jungle Love. We put Cool in, but we was doing a body of all his new stuff, and with him being where he was, people just were happy to see him, and they embraced everything that we had done. So, but yeah, I'm in his ear.
Well, I think a lot of people would definitely appreciate that. I know at the celebration, that was the same. That was kind of a lot of the feedback when he performed a celebration with NPG, which was kind of a little strange out of the gate.
Yeah.
But then every song that he played was the ones that were penned by Prince. And it was like, okay, Morris, we love you, brother.
Yeah.
Play the stuff. Yeah. Because you have that core clique of audience who are paying massive amounts of money to see him, and they know all that material. You're not talking about these fair weather fans. These people know everything you do. They know all the deep cuts. So that's kind of like, but anyway.
It's been the same. It's been the same ever since the beginning. I mean, we're still playing the same arrangements. I mean, some condensed, but the same thing. Nothing has really changed at all, but the date. But we're still playing the same thing. And I know Prince at one time said, man, you don't never have to cut another record, because what you have is going to be forever. And I get it. I mean, the precedence that was set, man. And God bless our brother, man, and he's gone, but man, he set a precedence, man, and he left a mark, a serious mark. You know what I mean? And so I know for all the Purple fans out there,
Yeah.
Y'all know what I'm talking about. He left a serious, serious mark, and the music is forever, man. It's gonna outlive all of us. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. And hopefully we'll be able to kind of stick some of those things in there.
Man, I would love it. And we talked about Daisies, so I didn't know when Daisies came out. What year did this come out?
That was probably like 1988.
Yeah, so I didn't really under complete. First off, when I heard that you were involved with this album, I immediately pulled out the album and I was looking at the credits, and you are not listed in the credits at all, except in the thank yous.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What? Yeah, let's
How
explain
that
that.
happened. Maybe somebody at Warner Brothers made a big, huge error. But
What did you play on this?
I played everything, all the keyboards.
Wait, now.
I mean,
okay.
I haven't even seen the record, so I don't know. It's been a long time. So,
all right. So it says the Daisies, Sherry Wells on lead vocals and background vocals, Kelly Gurman on keyboards, bass, synthesizer, and vocals, Tiffany Smith on drums, Sherry Bender on percussion, Cecilia Worrell on saxophone and keyboards, and a special appearance by Greg Araguen on guitar.
Araguen,
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you're not on here at all.
Well, it's sort of kind of like the time.
Like what they do with Apollonia 6, right? And the whole Jamie Starr thing, and it's like, you know,
I mean, it was the same thing. I mean, it was like, you have these characters, and the musicians, and this is what they play, but Morrison and we put this whole band together, and I played everything.
Did they ever do any live shows?
Nah, the group didn't really take off. It was sort of kind of like right before they did the Pandemonium record. Like I said, Prince had already done slated the Corporate World album, so all this was all around the same time.
Yeah, because I was looking at the Corporate World album, the way that it got broke up, and I did actually go on to Prince Vault, and I found the track listing for the Corporate World album as it was supposed to exist.
Yeah,
and I mean, most of this stuff obviously got relegated to Graffiti Bridge and Pandemonium, but there were some great tracks on here with Murph Drag and 9 Lives, and of course, Corporate World was a great one, and everything else was on the other ones. I mean, so Murph Drag, 9 Lives, and Corporate World were the only ones that did not make it onto any other project.
Yeah.
And
well, I think when the record was done, and then I think the original guys, Jimmy and Terry, said, "Oh, well, we want to do a record," and so naturally when they kind of came back, then they started pulling out songs that maybe Prince had done earlier on, like Chocolate and Jerk Out. All that stuff was done way back, in the earlier days, so they just kind of brought those songs and kind of revised those songs, and and kind of added Pandemonium and stuff like that. But
I was laughing.
That's how the Corporate World just kind of got pushed to the side.
I was laughing because we had Jesse Johnson on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling us a story about Jerk Out. And he was saying that they were doing, I can't remember what show they knew. I think they were doing the Tonight Show or something. And, all the producers and the cameraman and all the people that do the cut action and all this stuff were all these old white guys. And one of them didn't know the name of the song, and he swore it was Jerk Off. and so like the whole time he would be like, "Take 2, Jerk Off." And he kept doing it like repeatedly. It was just like, and the band never like Jesse never corrected him because it was just hilarious for this guy to go, "Take
of course,
2, Jerk Off."
Let him go ahead and go with it. That's funny. That's funny.
Oh my God! So you have been friends with Morris for many, 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 many years. Yeah. And I look to see that last year he releases what he had said was going to be his final album in the form of Last Call. It's appropriately labeled. And that was, I mean, he had lots of guest stars on it, from Snoop to, I mean, just so many people that were on this. And it was announced that this was going to be his last album. And then I just got done hearing a interview. Oh no, it wasn't an interview. It was an announcement that he made at the celebration this year. And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be back out there recording some new material." And everybody was looking at each other like, "What? What?" Is this like a Parliament Funkadelic thing? This is George Clinton's last show.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to just not do something that you love to do. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get that.
And so, and I got, I think it's one of the articles I think I read was where it talked about it will be his last solo album. There's always room for, the original guys to do a record together, with Jimmy and Terry and stuff. So that's always still open. But it was, I guess for him, it was just like he was good in doing his solo records, which, we have our own vault, man. I got stuff on Morris, man. I'm just waiting for him to say, go ahead and go for it. We have some crazy stuff, man. I mean,
how many songs probably in this vault?
Oh man, I can't even tell you, but I tell you what I did. We got an hour worth of stuff with vocals on it, and it's probably gonna feel more like the earlier time stuff.
Well, now you mentioned that. Let's speak about Corporate World, and I guess for the sake of the argument, Murph Drag and 9 Lives, other deeper tracks like this. Do you guys have any capability to be able to release this? I mean, or is this tied up in the state garbage with that?
It's tied up. I mean, yeah, it's in the vault.
Yeah, but those songs weren't written by Prince, didn't have really any involvement by Prince other than being recorded, I guess, in that studio. If I don't
know. Well, I mean,
what's the history on that?
Well, we recorded the songs at Ray Parker's studio. I cut the tracks. I cut everything. It was already cut. It was done. Prince wrote the lyrics and the melody. He wrote the song. He wrote the song.
Okay.
And he put guitar on it. So he's writer, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure. I think I read someplace where my name wasn't even on it as a songwriter.
Like the Daisies, right?
Like, man, what's going on here? But bottom line is that
no, you're on Corporate World though. They do have you listed as a writer on Corporate World. So
yeah, okay, that's
there you go.
but yeah, I mean, we just and I never thought in my wildest dreams that he would ever take that song, because it was just a song that Morris and I cut. It wasn't for how sometimes you just write stuff and you just cut it and you just having fun with it, and that's all it was. It wasn't like, oh, Morris, this would be great on you. It was like, we just had, and he said, man, Prince heard it, man. I was like, lost his mind, man. And I'm like, what? So I said, okay, well, great. So,
there you go.
Yeah. But it was great. I mean, it's a great song. Then we have another song that I'm sure he may have put vocals on, but I haven't heard what he did with the song. But there's another track that we did.
So I have to ask this too. Did Morris play any, and because I even looked at the credits for his albums like Color of Success and Daydreaming, and I don't see him listed as doing anything other than lead vocals. Did he ever play drums on any of those tracks, or is this another one of those things where he played a bunch of stuff and just didn't credit himself for it?
Yeah, I mean, because Morris did play keyboard parts. He definitely played keyboard parts for sure. A lot of it was more kind of drum machine stuff, but yeah, Morris played keyboards too. Yeah, I mean, Morris had his way that he played, and then sometimes he would play stuff, and then we had a guy, I can't think of his name, that was kind of engineering keyboard player, and so he was kind of helping program some sounds, and Morris heard some stuff, say, oh, okay, I like that sound. But so he would kind of play, Morris would start playing something, and then he would kind of take it and kind of just play it for him and stuff like that.
I know that Greg Fillinganes was involved in a couple of.
Oh yeah,
he was in that mix too. I mean,
I think that's him playing the piano solo on Color of Success.
Yeah, he was on that album, which was pretty cool. I mean, this Greg Fillinganes is like one of these guys that's like Stevie Wonder, and it's just come on. He's
Oh
got
no,
all over this resume. Jeez.
he's bad, and I think is it Roland Batista playing guitar? I think
Yeah,
on
could
"Don't
could
Wait
be.
for Me." No,
I'll have to look, but
I think that's him playing. That's
I
him
believe you're
playing.
right.
That's him playing the solo guitar on that for
Yeah,
sure.
and somebody else that was tied to this, and I don't know if you have any stories about Mr. Clarence.
Ah, yeah.
So Clarence Avant, he was actually managing Morris Day or did some type of representation during that Color of Success period. Did you ever have get an opportunity to kind of hang with this legend?
Yeah. I kind of, had dealt with Clarence on a few occasions. Kind of before Morris, though. It was really kind of when I was kind of doing stuff with Leon, and because Clarence Avant and Dick Griffey were very good friends, and so I would, went to Clarence Avant and played a few songs. But man, what a great guy he was, man. I mean, shit, I mean, he shoot from the hip, man, and tell you how he feel about you too. At the same time, but you had to love him for that. That's just who he was, and he was respected. But I had nothing but great respect for this man and what he'd done, and really kind of taught me a lot too. Just even when I was writing songs and demos, man. He said, man, I don't have time to sit here and listen to 2 minutes of your song.
All right, Dan.
but it made sense because he says, man, if I don't hear in the first hook, I'm not going to hear it. But in the first minute of your song, if I don't hear the hook,
that was one of the things that I always noticed about Prince's tracks. Have you ever noticed about Prince's songs? They always start off with the hook. Think about any song.
Yeah, man.
It's like you think Uptown, it's like it starts right a bit. It's like right off the bat, it's like here's the hook, and then we're gonna go into the regular song. It's like
which makes sense though. I mean,
it does.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of songs, you hear where it starts off with the verse and then the hook. But I mean, look, man, if you don't have a good hook, you don't have a song. I don't care who you are.
Exactly.
If you don't have a hook, a great hook, you don't have a song. I don't care how great the instrumentation is, how great the vocals are. If your hook ain't great, where people can sing it, you ain't got a song, man. And I've been around. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people, man, and that was the thing that I learned the most, man. Is you got to have a great hook, lyrically, melodically. You got to have a great hook. Yeah,
you got to. All right, let's play a game. Because you have been tied to and associated with so many artists, and I'm gonna play a quick game. It's gonna be like first memory. We'll call it first memory. It doesn't even have a name. It's called first memory. I'm gonna show you a picture of an artist, and you just tell me a memory that you have about that particular artist, or your favorite memory, or whatever that artist. And we'll start with the one and only Vanity. Let's start here.
Oh man. Wow. In the studio. I did like 3 or 4 songs on her. And we were very close. I mean, we were very, very close, and she was great, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I love her, God rest her soul, man, but she embraced me and I embraced her, man. And I tell you, I have a body of music on her that I will probably never, ever release, ever, because it wasn't released then. And so it's just something that I will always keep close to my heart, because I knew when she gave her life over, to Christ, whatever, that she disassociated herself with that music. So I have nothing but mad respect for her, man. She was great. She was great.
Yeah, she's definitely a powerhouse, man. She's every life that she entered into, she definitely made an impact. Kind of is just,
Oh man, I mean, just working with her, and she had gone through a lot. Let me just say that without going into a whole lot. But she went through a lot, in her life, even growing up. And so I was instrumental in we would talk about the Bible, and she was asking questions, and so I would share with her what I knew, because she was just very curious about it, and so I would just share with her. Sometimes I would pray with her and stuff like that, because she was going through so much emotionally. And this is probably like around maybe 1990, that I was working with her. But she was great, man. She was great. My mom loved her. Oh my God. She would come over to the house, and we're supposed to be working, and she's in the house with my mother, they're eating and drinking coffee. And I'm like, hey, we got to get to work. What you doing? No, she was great, man. She was great.
Wow. All right, let's go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Cat Williams. We're gonna go to the total opposite side of the spectrum on this one. All right, go ahead.
Pop Life. I'm gonna just say that we did Pop Life, and when I tell you, when you listen to it,
the actual song Pop Life, you guys performed that, and he actually sang it.
We recorded. I recorded my version of it. My I didn't do exactly, when you hear it, it's Pop Life, you know what I'm saying? But I just sort of kind of put a little twist on it. And man, he got on that song, and he sounded just like him. And actually, Prince heard it.
He did, really?
Prince heard the song, man.
Did you play it for him? Did you play it for him? What happened?
He played it for him. Now this is, now Cat's telling me this. I mean, Cat was like, because Prince really loved Cat. Because Cat was just crazy. So they would hang out from time to time, but just loved his antics, his comedy, and who he was. And but yeah, he played the song for Prince, man. And Prince loved it. Prince was tickled, but loved it because it was so close. And when I say close, I mean, is that Prince? He's talented, man. And I did a few rock songs on him where he sounded like a straight rock and roller, like just a heavy voice. I mean, just he's a talent, man. I mean, he's talented, man. He really is.
Wow.
He really is.
Crazy. All right, let's go to the next one. The one and only Janet Jackson.
Oh my goodness. Her first album. Her very first album. That must have been 1983.
Yeah.
Something like that. We did her very first album, and it was Leon, myself, Foster, Renee and Angela did some stuff on her first album. I'm trying to think of this other guy's name, Jerry Weaver, and she was so young, man. And Joe wanted, he carried it out, and it was just her first record, and she had a great voice. I mean, she had a great voice, man. And we did these songs, and the record didn't do so well, but it was great working with her and her dad at that time. He was there every session, but it was great. It was great.
Do you feel like she felt the need that, Michael's had all the insane success that he had, that she really felt like she had to kind of make her mark? Did she like express any of that? Like, I feel like I got to compete in this to stay afloat.
I don't think so, because she's a Jackson. You know what I mean? And so Joe did Joe, and went to work again. And there it is. You know what I mean? And so I don't think it was even competition. It was it was embedded. You know what I'm saying? She was always doing stuff as a child with her brothers and singing and, on some of the variety shows with them. So it was always in her. And so Joe just, puts her to work, man. And she's been great, man. She's been great.
So did you write, how many songs were you involved in on that album?
I think I played on like about 4 or 5.
Wow.
Because at that time, Leon Sylvers, our sound was really, how can I say, we kind of dominated radio from
Right. The
80.
whole whisper sound and all that stuff.
Like up until like maybe 83, 84, and so naturally it was to bring our sound, on her first record. And Foster did some really cool stuff on her too. I think he did this one song. I don't know if it was called All Fair Love and War. I'm not sure if that was on her record, but Foster had a really unique way of producing too, you know what I mean? But it was great working with her, man. It was really great.
All right, next one. Shalamar. A little bit of Jody Watley.
Make that move, right? Yeah, I mean,
I love these guys. Just such a great band.
Yeah, man.
I was more obsessed with Jody Watley than I was Shalamar for whatever reason. When Jody came out and she hit, I mean, with the whole Real Love movement and just like that, I just think she could have done no wrong in that particular way. I know we're talking about Shalamar right now, but
no, of course.
Me personally, it's just like Jody Watley just had that. It was just that sound. It was very. She fell into the sound just perfectly with what was going on the radio and everything that was happening at that time. It was just perfect.
Oh yeah, Leon. Not to cut you off, but Leon knew, how to blend their vocals and. I mean, when you listen to any of the earlier Shalamar stuff, you still hear her voice cut through the harmonies. You know what I mean? And it was just a chemistry. It was just a chemistry that they all had. You can't erase that. Her voice, and even when she went solo, that's still her voice. It's like Howard Hewitt. You know what I'm saying? But when you got them all together, there's that sound. You know what I mean? And I mean, I love Jody, man. I mean, she went on and did some great things after Shalamar, and took it even further, you know what I mean? But Shalamar, man, I mean, man, I did Make That Move, and I did another song on there for them called Sweeter as the Days Go By. And it's a great song. And but it's just, they were family, man. We were all Solar Records, and we were all on tour together. So they're great, man. I love all of them. Jeffrey naturally was the pop lock moonwalker. Okay, he taught Michael how to do that. So you know what I'm saying. And can't nobody do. Even though Michael was great, but man, can't nobody moonwalk like Jeffrey.
All these songs that you write for all these artists, are there any songs that you like? Think to yourself, man, I wish I'd have kept that for myself, or because you actually you seem to like to be in the background. I mean, why haven't you released any like solo albums yourself? Why haven't you done anything?
Because I like being in the background.
Okay.
I enjoy that. It's like even though I'm in the background, I'm sort of kind of in the front, but in the background. And I just always loved. It was never. I mean, and I still get people asking me about if I ever thought about doing a solo record or anything like that. And I've thought about it a few times, but really more important for me is just I love writing music. I was fortunate enough to do what I've done, in the music industry, and really all of us. Anybody who's listening that's a songwriter, I don't care who you are, we did something that we love to do. And you, the fans, made it a success. You embrace all of us. I don't care who it is, Prince, all of us. You all embraced us. So without you, we wouldn't be who we are or even have the success that we've had or have. So thank you to all of the purple people out there that love Prince and Morris and all of us, man. I mean, really, thank you. Really, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for giving us some friggin' amazing music. I mean, across so many different genres, although it's always stayed in that, you always stayed in the pocket. You know where your strengths are, and you've just, managed to connect yourself with all these different artists that are still in that same sphere. It's really, it's refreshing to, find somebody that knows their sound and, can continue to contribute to that by just giving us one great song after another. I mean, and I think, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show. Shout out to Dorothy Inez.
Oh yeah.
Because I really wanted to make sure, she definitely connected us. And I was like, man, some of these unsung heroes that just have been writing and continually churning out great music without any thought or consideration of, hey, spotlight on me. It's just like, I'm just going to just keep on doing what I do and just putting out quality material. So yeah, I mean, on behalf of the fans, thank you.
Oh no, man. And really, man, Dorothy Inez was like, you should go on the Funkotopia show. And she says, I can hook it up for you. I said, okay. If you could do that, I'm there. So thank you, Dorothy Inez. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. She's the best. Now, behind you, you happen to be displaying the one and only Freesicle. And I want to talk about this a little bit because we're going to dub. I actually had a few more in that game that we were playing because I had Bootsy in the mix. I had Brothers Johnson and the Whispers, but we could be here all day. But we're going to have to be the part 2 because I want to talk about the Freesicle here. And so tell me about the process of, how you get a guitar that's kind of committed, dedicated. I don't know what the proper word is. This is also a picture here of Maite holding the Freesicle as well. So tell me a little bit about how this came to be and how you have your own bass guitar.
I was 2004. We did the musicology tour with Prince and not Shigeki, but Takumi turned me on over to Schecter. And so naturally I started playing their guitars, and they were doing a lot of stuff for Prince at the time too. And they would tweak a lot of his guitars. I think they were involved with the Cloud and the guitar sign. They were involved in all of that. So after, Prince passed away, they painted I had a white bass guitar that was all white. And so they still had some of his decals, like the symbol and the heart. So I said, man, could you just maybe put the symbol and the heart on one of the basses for me? And so they did, and so about a year or so went by, and I said, man, I would love to maybe just do a signature bass, eventually do something. And so we just kind of talked it around, and naturally, I took the symbol off, but I kept the heart in the right place, but I just put my crown in the place where his symbol was. But, I kind of wanted to do something in memory of him, because, he touched a lot of lives and mine as well. And then being, involved with Morris and everyone. And so it meant a lot to me. We all were blindsided when it happened, you know, and so this was, to me, it was something that I could have and present, and, and people have embraced it, man, and it's definitely, it was because of him. That's why it's purple like it is.
Man, how's it been selling? It's been doing pretty well?
It's doing really well. It's doing really, really well. I mean, I can't say it was a dream come true. I'm not going to sit here and say that. It's one of those things that happen, and we put it out there, and, I kind of do my own marketing and promotion. And so when COVID hit, everything was shut down. So all I could do was keep it in your face. Everybody knew this purple bass guitar coming soon, but it was like when? But it was like whenever COVID is over, then, it's going to be released. And so, and so we waited. And so, finally when it came out, a lot of people thought, it's gimmicky, it's purple, it's like, it doesn't really sound. And man, when they picked it up and played it and purchased the bass, man, they were like shocked, because it's a great bass and it sounds great. And he would have loved it, hands down. He'd have played the hell out of it. Okay, trust that. It's a great bass, man. It's a great bass.
It definitely looks like a bass that he'd be holding for sure.
Oh,
absolutely, yeah. Man, unbelievable, unbelievable. So I also wanted to make note, since you're kind of in this marketing spin here, not only do you have the background going on here showing the guitar itself, but you also have a shirt on from your Freeze Classic collection, and I'm going to share the yeah, that's a nice one. I'm going to share the page that actually this is from the website, which
Yeah.
for those who want to look at, it's the freezeclassiccollection.com. And if you click on shop, you'll actually see some of the merch here. I mean, really, really cool stuff, like the Times track list from the first album, and all these just really, really cool items. I mean, this is pretty cool. So, tell me about your thought process about how you kind of go to pick out some of these some of these items, and it's just like kind of what speaks to you. And
Yeah, you know, I just kind of come up with different things, and I kind of design stuff myself, and I kind of throw it out there and see what sticks, what doesn't. You know what I mean? And it was something that I did. I launched this back in 2020, so right in the beginning of COVID, and so I said, okay, well, let me just see what I can do, because everybody was at home. And so I had these T-shirts called social distance, and then on the back of the shirt it said 6 feet back or 6 feet under. It was kind of like just in the back of the shirt, and so people bought the shirt, they bought the T-shirt, and so that was sort of kind of the beginning of that. And so I just sort of kind of periodically would design stuff. I haven't really been doing a whole lot lately because I've been really just kind of busy, on the road with Morris and working. And then, we got some things getting ready to come up with Sweetwater. I don't know if you know, but
yep, we talk about that right now if you want, because first off, here is a photo that was taken out in front of First Avenue. And obviously it features Monty, Jellybean, Tori, and I mean, this is iconic. And the reason why this is so iconic, and what's very, very cool about this, and I'll actually pull that down and pull up the actual page itself, because where is that? It's right here. It's the Time Band Masterclass that is being done with Sweetwater, and it is with Jellybean, Monty, Tori, and Freeze, obviously. And it's going to be done in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which I wanted to talk to you about that location, what the thought process was for that. But according to what it says here, well, actually, why don't you just tell people what this is about?
Okay, so this is just a master class where, we will play, we will educate musicians. Naturally it's going to be the Minneapolis sound because, of who we are, but at the same time, it's really just showing musicians how to play in a band together, play their instruments, how to approach it, writing and stuff like that. And so it's really going to be more educational. Like, we'll play songs, we may play for like 2 minutes, stop, break everything down. Like Jellybean might talk about the drums and why he plays what he plays, and I might break down the bass part and how to play along with the drummer, and and the keyboards and guitar and so on. And so, it's going to be real educational. It's something that's really fun. Sweetwater has been selling our guitars. Tori has his Freak Tooth guitar and mine. So they've been selling the guitars. So naturally, it worked out well for us to do this band class for them. And they're hosting it. And it's going to be great. It's in Fort Wayne. And so people that are close, Chicago area, we welcome you to come. It's going to be great. We're going to do a lot of Q&A. Huh?
Why Fort Wayne?
Well, because that's where Sweetwater is.
Okay. I thought didn't they have multiple? I thought they had multiple locations in one.
They actually do. But that's kind of like, I guess, their main headquarters. Yeah. And so that's what they chose. And so we're all going to be there, and it's going to be exciting. And so naturally, there's going to be some footage of it. So we probably will maybe eventually take this all over the country.
Yeah, I was going to say people would love to be able to have, you know, a masterclass like this. Especially, this is one of the things that I was actually talking about with I've talked about on the show before. Some of the things and just events that could be executed by the estate and by Paisley Park, to be able, like for Paisley Park, being that it's a recording studio itself, to be able to bring aspiring musicians into the facility and be able to teach them various things, recording techniques, writing, you know, writing hooks like you were talking about, and all that. It would be so advantageous to musicians. And I just think it would be such a big win for them. But they just, I mean, it's their business, so they can do what they want. But I would love to see this on the road for sure. I mean, because that would be, I can't imagine people not wanting to go to it. And just to be clear, if you guys do want to go to the Fort Wayne, Indiana event, the Time Masterclass, I am actually setting up a short link on Funkatopia. So you can go to funkatopia.com/masterclass, and that will take you right to the page where you can actually buy the tickets. So it's going to take you right to the page you were looking at. So if you want a shortcut, you don't think you can remember how to get there, just go to funkatopia.com/masterclass, and you'll be able to be taken right there with no fuss, no muss. But yeah, I mean, so have you guys seriously talked about taking this on the road?
Yeah, I mean, we're all excited. It's like it is something different. I mean, we will play our songs. We're going to play our songs, and we're going to run through it and then stop, and we're going to play some of the Prince stuff, and just sort of kind of break down in what the Minneapolis thing really is. And then we're going to have some musicians give some musicians a chance to come up and play with us.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's going to be fun too. You know what I mean? Like, let them come up and we'll show them and let them play along with us. And so it's going to, yeah, we've definitely been talking about it. And I know that Jelly Bean, Monty, and Tori would like to probably thank you as well for putting that link up for us. And we're going to have fun. And like I told him, I said, regardless to if it's packed or it isn't, we're going to have fun doing what we do. And, it's going to catch on. It's going to catch on. I'm not even worried about that. It's going to catch on, man, where people are going to come and want to be a part of it, especially getting to young musicians that's
Right.
up and coming, because we need real music. We need more musicians, man.
Yep.
And so they need to have something. Like when we came up, we had musicians that we could put the record on and listen to. Now they don't have that. It's just everything is computerized, and it's not I'm not gonna say it's not musical. I don't want to say that. What I'm saying is that we were more driven to play an instrument when we came up. You know what I mean? I want to play the guitar. I want to play the bass. I want to play the drum. And so that's what we need to sort of kind of get back to. And I think once we do that, then you'll probably start hearing a little more music with real musical instruments.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was just something that is, I know that they actually do have master classes on certain websites and stuff, like for DJing and things like that. But to actually support real music by real musicians is something that is so important. And to be able to continue Prince's legacy and the Times legacy, and just all that music from those golden eras from 1960 to 1990, that just seemed like it was like the best core of music. It wasn't a rehashing of anything. There was some good stuff that happened in the 90s. Don't take offense if you guys are 90s babies, but
yeah.
But there's a core of music that happened in that window from 1960 to 1990 that is undeniable. It really kind of established the ground roots for rock and roll, for funk, for R&B, for all that. And I just think it's great that you guys are doing this. And yes, the link is already set up, funkatopia.com/masterclass. Get to this class, because if it goes well, then they can take this on the road and maybe take it to other towns that are a little bit closer to you or me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I will be in a boat in the middle of the ocean when this happens, so I can't come. I'd like to, but
well, you could be our guest, really, man, and just come and hang out with us, because and then maybe one of these days, maybe you can get us all on your show all together. And
absolutely,
man, it'd be great.
Oh man, done deal. Absolutely. We'd love to have you guys on the show. But I do want to take this opportunity to thank you, Mr. Ricky Free Smith, for coming on and just, sharing some of your history and just kind of, just being able to kind of recapture some of those moments, man, because again, I do really feel like you are one of those unsung heroes that just is just in the background, just churning out the songs that we love. And man, it's an honor to have you on here. So thank you so much for coming on the show, for
Man,
real.
thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man. And all good luck to you, man, and everything that you're doing. You're doing something right. So keep doing what you feel and stay true to that.
Oh man, well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, and give a warm round of applause for Ricky Free Smith. What's up?